Hello everyone. In this video, we will discuss about real-time CPU scheduling. So we know already we discussed about what is real-time operating system. So real-time operating system which is used to perform some critical task. So it is more challenging for this kind of operating system to execute many number of process because the main point or the main criteria which we need to follow under this real-time operating system is the time. So we need to maintain time so in order to execute any of the process. So we are achieving some time limit for each and every process. Within the time limit we have to complete its execution. If suppose the service has been provided beyond the time limit and that particular service will not be recognized at all, so it is which is very equivalent to the particular process has not been executed at all. So that is what real time operating system, and this real time operating system will be distinguished into two types. One is soft real time systems and another one is hard real time systems. Soft real time systems, which are nothing but the process can be executed and it will not provide any guarantee that this particular process to be executed within a time limit. So we are not giving any restrictions in case of time limit, particularly that belongs to this soft real time systems. But if you go and check it with the next type, that is hard real time systems, this particular system will always execute the process within a particular deadline. If the deadline expires, then this service or whatever the output you are just producing for the after the execution of the process will not be considered at all. So that is what hard real time systems. So these kind of real-time operating system which is used for performing some heavy calculations like some automated controlling system or any other scientific system, so which is used to perform all those kind of operations. So that is what real-time systems. So now how we are going to schedule the process in case of real-time system, so that only we are going to discuss. So in order to perform the scheduling, so we need to understand what is the latency, which means if you are executing any one of the event, say for example if you are executing some C program in the compiler, so in the middle of execution if you get any other external event, so event is nothing but any some action has to be done in the system. So if you get any kind of message or any kind of pop-up message, it is nothing but the external event, or we can also call it as an interrupt. So in interrupt it might be a internal interrupt or it might be an external interrupt, which means outside of the system whatever you are just working out, if you get any interrupt, then that will be considered as the external interrupt, like through the input output devices if you get any interrupt, or outside of the working environment if you get any action to be done, which is nothing but external interrupt. So internal interrupt, which is nothing but the in the same system whatever you are working out, because of that if you get any interrupt, then which is nothing but internal. Or we can also call these two kind of interrupt as a software interrupt as well as hardware interrupt. Hardware interrupt can be occurred because of the external events, I mean external devices, and the software interrupt can be occurred because of the same system or the same process whatever you are trying to execute to get the output. Okay, so here uh, event latency, which is nothing but if any of the event has been occurred. So that is what, if you take one example and you are just executing one C program in the compiler, so at the time if you get any notification about the some messages, so you are just received some mail. Okay, so your inbox has been received any one of a mail. So you are just getting that notification in the middle of executing any of the C program. If you get notification like this, and immediately you want to see what is that mail, so what you will do, so you will press alt tab. So in that case it is a kind of interrupt and you are just responding to the interrupt, and before the completion of whatever the current process you are just doing, you are just trying to execute some C program, but before the completion of that C program execution, which means you didn't get output for that C program, before that you are just trying to switch over to the next process. What is the next process? Because you got some interrupt, some kind of external interrupt, and you are just trying to respond to the interrupt. So you are just, if you press alt tab, so automatically you'll be get the windows, whatever the working environment, so it will move on to that environment, and you can see your mailbox, you can check all your incoming mails. So so this is a kind of external interrupt. Suppose if you are executing again the C program and it is not producing the correct output, right? So it is actually taking too much of time to produce the output. Okay, so if the timer expires, then automatically it will come out of that execution, and it will go to the next program, or whatever the next process which we have. So it is nothing but the software interrupt. So the thing whatever we are getting from external interrupt, which is nothing but the hardware, and the interrupt which we are getting due to the same program whatever you are trying to execute, which is nothing but software interrupt, right? So here, if you get interrupt in the system, and what is the time taken between the occurrence of the event or the interrupt and the responding to the interrupt, that is what the latency. So latency can be divided into two types. One is the event latency, or the interrupt latency, and the next one is dispatch latency. So we'll discuss all these things. So what is event latency, and how we are minimizing this two latencies in case of real time operating system. So here event latency, which is nothing but, as I told, so the time taken between the occurrence of the event and responding, giving response to that particular event. So that is what the event latency. So how can we minimize the event latency in case of real time systems, right? So let us see this picture on this diagram. So here we have the event latency. So here the t naught, which is nothing but the occurrence of the first event, that is event e, and the t1 is the event, is the time at which this particular event has been responded by the system. So this is what event latency, the time taken between the occurrence of that particular event and that responding, giving response to that particular event, is nothing but event latency. So here the real time system responds to e is nothing but an event, and this is the time. So this is nothing but event latency. So here we can distinguish the latency into two types. So one is interrupt latency, and another one is dispatch latency. So what do you mean by interrupt latency? So again, if you get interrupt in the system, and obviously if what is the time taken between the occurrence of the interrupt in the system and the response, providing response to that interrupt, is nothing but interrupt latency. Let us see this diagram. So here we have some task to be executed. Currently we are executing this particular task T, and at that time if you get any interrupt, so what you are trying to do, so you are just going to execute the particular instruction whatever you have, because the process may consist of many number of instruction, and the CPU will execute only one instruction at a time, right? So it will read the instruction, otherwise it will fetch the instruction, it will decode it, and it will execute that instruction. This is what repeatedly done by the CPU in order to execute the entire process. So whatever the instruction it is executing currently, so it will complete. So let it complete that particular instruction before giving response to the interrupt. So it has to complete the currently executing instruction, and afterwards it will the OS will determine what type of interrupt it is. As I told, there are two types of interrupts, obviously, if it is a software or it is a hardware one. So it will determine the type of the interrupt, and afterwards it will perform the context switch. So what do you mean by context switch? Already we discussed about so many times about this context switch, which means if the CPU is executing the currently running process, at that time if it gets any other event or any other interrupt, okay, has been occurred, and it has to respond to that interrupt, so what it will do, the CPU will has to perform some set of operations before responding to that particular interrupt. So what are all the operation that it has to perform? First, it will stop its current execution, and it will store the old process. So whatever the thing it has been executed previously, the status of that particular process has been stored. So in their own set PCB, right? So each and every process has their own PCB. So in that particular process control block, it will store the status of that process because it didn't complete its execution. That particular process has not been completed till now. So CPU will respond to the interrupt, and after coming back from the interrupt, it has to again resume the same process whatever it has given already, right? So it has to execute the same process again, so it has to recollect whatever at which point it stops its execution. So for that only, it has to store the status of the old process, and it has to load the new process whatever it is going to execute. It might be interrupt routine, right? So it will give response to that interrupt service routine in order to execute that interrupt program. So the time taken between the occurrence of the interrupt and when it is providing the response to the interrupt, which is nothing but interrupt latency. So normally this interrupt latency should be minimized. So even if you are working with the soft real time system, we can try to minimize the interrupt latency. But if you are just working with the hard real time system, so hard real time, which is nothing but it will not provide any service beyond the time limits. So even though if it provides, then it will not be considered as the output. Even though if it is providing the correct data, correct output, it will not be considered at all because it exceeds the time limit. So that is what the feature of the hard real time system, so that we have to maintain it. So if you are working with a hard real time system, so minimizing the interrupt latency is said to be a complicated one, and it is not possible at all. So which is very difficult to maintain the minimized latency of either interrupt or the dispatch latency, right? So next one, we will discuss about the dispatch latency. So here, what do you mean by dispatch latency? So dispatch latency is nothing but dispatching, which means we have to schedule the dispatcher. So which means we are going to stop the one process and we are going to provide the next new process to the CPU for execution, isn't it? So that is what dispatcher. So what dispatcher is a kind of program. So when you are executing the dispatcher program, so OS has to execute the dispatcher program in order to schedule any new process to the CPU. So initially some process has been executed by the CPU, it has to stop that particular process execution, and afterwards new process has been scheduled to the CPU. That is what the thing has been done by the dispatcher. Okay. So what do you mean by dispatch latency? Again, the time taken to stop one process and providing the new process to the CPU for execution, which is nothing but dispatch latency. So this dispatch latency can also be minimized with the most effective technique called preemptive kernels. So if you include this preemptive kernel, so what do you mean by preemptive? So voluntarily the process executes, by the CPU. So we are not waiting until the process completion, so we are just allotting some time limits. Until the time limits, if the particular process does not complete its execution, then we are just giving the forceful termination of the process, right? So voluntarily we are releasing that particular process by the CPU, and we are just providing any new process to the CPU for execution. This is what preemptive. So if you have this preemptive kernels, then we can achieve the minimized dispatch latency. Suppose say for example, if you have some operating system, and that operating system um, with the preemptive nature has been disabled in that particular operating system. Disable means we don't have the preemptive technique. So what happens there? We need to wait until the completion of any process has been given to the CPU. So after the completion of the first process, only then second process has been provided for to the CPU for execution. So it is a non-preemptive mode. If the CPU or if the system supporting only non-preemptive mode, then it is very difficult to maintain the dispatch latency to be minimized one. So if the operating system is runs with the non-preemptive mode, then the dispatch latency will be more than a minute, or even 5 minutes, like that. So it takes more time for the dispatch latency. Suppose if the same operating system with the preemptive nature, so which means the preemptive mode has been enabled in that same operating system, so at that time the uh, dispatch latency will be a fraction of seconds, right? So it will be a less than a minute, right? So that is what dispatch latency. So here we have the two phases of the dispatch latency. One is nothing but conflict and another one is dispatch. So what is this conflict phase? Conflict phase again will be based on the two important factors. The first one is preemption of any process running in the kernel, released by low priority process of resources needed by a high priority process. So what does it mean? Preemption of any process running in the kernel, which means, so as I told before, the execution of the particular process, the process can be taken out from the CPU and we can give any other process. That is what preemption. Release by low priority process of resources needed by a high priority process. So even we can release and we can use schedule the kind of a resources from a low priority process to high priority, because we are just providing the priority for the process that is actually arriving into the system. And if suppose the low priority process is currently executed by CPU, at that time, if the system receives the high priority process, what happens there? Automatically the low priority process will be taken out, or it should be released from the CPU, and the high priority process should be scheduled to the CPU for execution. If this happens, automatically the resources has to be released by from the low priority and it has been scheduled again to the high priority process. So these are all the two important factors that we need to follow for conflict phase. So here we have the diagram that explains how the dispatch latency we are just actually getting in real time systems. So here if you look at this, we have the event. Okay, so event is nothing but, as I told, any operation that has to be done by the CPU, or it's a kind of action to be taken in the system. And once the event has been occurred, so what we are doing, so the process made available, so which means whatever the process that are ready to execute, so we are just maintaining every process in this ready queue, and from the ready queue we will be scheduling each and every one to the CPU for execution, right? So here interrupt processing. Okay, so now if the interrupt has also occurred in the system, so while there are more number of process in the CPU, I mean in the ready queue, so one by one we are allotting the process to the CPU. So in the middle of execution, if it gets an interrupt, so what we are doing, we are just stopping the current process. Otherwise, even in some other cases, the particular process what we are executing, if it exceeds the time limit, so at that time also preemption should be done, right? So here we are actually performing the dispatcher, so which means scheduling operation takes place. So we are just stopping the for process what it is actually currently given to the CPU, and afterwards we are providing the new process. That is what dispatch latency, stopping one process and providing new process. So in between some set of operation has to be taken, right? So conflicts, so first phase is said to be the conflicts and next one is the dispatch. As I told, this conflicts will follow the two important factors, which means preemption. So preemption of any process currently running by the CPU, that could be preempted, and afterwards we should release whatever the resources that it has been held by the old process, and it should be scheduled to the new process whatever we are going to execute. And dispatch, so and then the next one is real time process execution. So here we should concentrate only on the real time task, because we are working with the real time operating system. So even if you are working with the hard real time, so we need to um, maintain, within the time limits the particular task has to be done and it should produce the output, right? So that is the main feature, we main criteria we should follow in case of hard real time systems. So even if you get any kind of external interrupt, so we cannot actually provide the response to the interrupt whatever you're getting in the system. So we cannot minimize the interrupt latency, but if the system supports the preemption mode, so we can minimize the dispatch latency a lot, even if you're working with the hard real time system. Okay, so that's all about the real time scheduling. And here also we can focus on the priority kind of scheduling, so we can follow that kind of scheduling, because so we are actually performing only the real task. So even if the high priority process enters into the system, so at the time of executing the low priority process, obviously we need to focus only on the high priority process. So with the help of the preemptive mode, we can execute the high priority process initially, and we can find the output within a time limit. Thank you.